Here we are, Biblical Word Study. It's a study which defines the words of the Old Testament Hebrew and the New Testament Greek to better understand the Word of God. And that's what we do here. One word at a time, one verse at a time, till we get it. We thank God for everything. And we're studying a little bit of crying here, weeping, crying. We did a little bit of groaning and mourning and stuff. So I'm still on this crying deal. And there's a bunch of Old Testament words. Maybe I should just give you them, give you the definitions, because that's what we do. We define words. But there's a reading in the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament that kind of like covers all of these words that are in the Old Testament. But I'm going to give them to you anyways. Yeah. Let me give you this 68:17 is tza'ak, cry. It's 44 times there. But it means to gather together, to cry out, to call. All right. So that's that one. And then the second one here is 2199. This is za'ak, cry, to cry out, and also to assemble. So you get this thing about gathering together, assembling, coming together, and crying out. And then this next one here is cry aloud. It is shava, cried out. And we'll take a look. Oh, look at that. All the stuff for cry. Look at all the stuff for cry there. A bunch of them are just not much, but I picked out some of the ones that pertain to what we're looking for here about crying. So that's is that 3 or 4? 4. This one here is yalal. It means to howl. Okay. So there's a part of crying is a howling. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And 5 is ranan. And sing, rejoice, sing aloud, shout for joy, cry. There's some things in here about rejoicing and singing out, but there's also some things in here about crying to the Lord. Sometimes you cry and you're happy. Sometimes you cry and you're not happy. You know, we cry for joy, we cry for sadness. So I think we covered a lot of that last week too. And 4, 5, 6, and this New Testament word, this beno, Anna Boeo. Sounds like a boo-hoo, right? Anna comes from Anna, which is by or in the midst of or near. And then this is Boeo, which is the word for cry. And you put Anna in front of it, and it's to cry aloud, to cry out. And we'll look at some of those verses there. Well, Jesus cried, the multitude cried, and a company was crying out. And it comes from the boeo, to cry. There's 11 verses there, as you can see. And then this other one here is one verse, boe, to cry. Might as well just read that. James 5:4. When behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Host, Lord of hosts, basically what that means. Transliteration of the Hebrew word Sabaoth, meaning hosts or armies, the armies of the earth, basically what that Sabaoth means. So you got crieth. Oh, that's a big word for cry here. We might touch on this, but I was going to stick basically with this little boeo, but this kradzo is one of the big words for cry too, or cry out. And I think we covered, I don't think I read the book on it. I might have, because I just put a bunch of books on the shelf, but this is another word for cry out, kradzo. And like I said, you got this whole synonymous thing down here that we can look at. Right, so we'll probably slip into that. And this also is 1916 is epi. So you got epi. There's also a kata boeo, but I couldn't find it. I looked for it in the dictionary, kata boeo, but I couldn't find it. So I'm not going to go through that again. Forget it. All right. Uh, where was I? 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And this is epi boeo. So to cry out, epi, which is upon or on, and boeo, to cry out, to cry out. And there's one verse here, and it's Acts 25:24. And Festus said, King Agrippa, and all the men which are here present with us, you see this man about whom all the multitude of Jews have dealt with me, both at Jerusalem and also here, crying that he ought not to live any longer. So this is epi. They're crying out, right, that he should not be living anymore. They're talking about Paul. So, and we'll get back to that. The laborers crying, because there's a lot of stuff in the Old Testament about that too. So, what I'm going to do is read uh, from this theological dictionary. As you can see, it's Theological Dictionary 1, starting on page 625. And if you got that in your library, pull it down and try to read along. But you won't be able to keep up with me. But when we're talking about this, it's to cry or to call, often expanded, or Anna Bayo, which we just looked at, to cry out, Epi Bayo, which means to call out, Kata Bayo, which means to raise a complaint. And there's also a Bo, uh, Boe. Oh, that's 995. Yes, okay, we looked at that already. That's this one here, Boe. And but the Septuagint makes considerable use of this word group in translation, and I just gave you a whole bunch of them. Um, I'm not going to give them to you again, but they're in here, and that's where I got it from. So, but phone megale, it means like a great noise. So if you put these two words together, 54, 56, 54, 56, which is a voice or a noise, right? Phone and megale, 3173. You'll see that 3173. When you put it into the Septuagint, you'll see these two words together, megale. So a great noise, which also means to cry out. So mega, phone, megale, phone, megale. And also to exult. Galatians 4:27. See if it's in here. Galatians 4:27. Here it is. For it is written, thou barren that bearest not, break forth and cry. And cry, thou that travailest not, for the desolate hath many more children than she which has an husband. Speaking about the bond servant, the bondwoman, and what's the other one's name? We'll put it in context here. I'm trying to get the Isaac's area. So for Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and Jerusalem answers which is now and in bondage with the children. But what's his name's wife? I can't think of her name. Um, Isaiah. But the both of them, they're juxtaposed in the New Testament there, and that comes from also Isaiah 54. You'll see it, Isaiah 54 and 1. Um, Sometimes they quote the Old Testament almost verbatim in the New Testament. And get rid of this here. Sing, O barren, that thou didst not bear, break forth into singing and cry aloud. Thou that did not travail with child, for more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, saith the Lord. It's basically the same thing as Galatians 4:27. And we got the word here, sing. That's the Ranan that we looked at. O barren, break forth into singing. Rinah is part of it. It's a feminine noun. Cry aloud. That's Sahal, 1881. Wait, I didn't put this down. 6670. Oh, rejoiced. Okay, shine. That's probably why, because it didn't pop up when I was looking up cry. Here's cry out. So 6670 is it's not much in the TWOT. Cry aloud, bellow, neigh, cry out, rejoice, shine, stahal. I'll have to put that on the side somewhere. But there's 9 verses. Lift up thy voice, cry out, and shout, thou inhabitant of Zion, for great is the Holy One of Israel in the midst of thee. They shall lift up their voice. They shall sing with the majesty of the Lord. They shall cry aloud from the sea. What's that sing there? That's probably, yeah, that's the 74:42. That's the Ranan. So it's crying, singing out, lifting up. And lift up the voice. That's the Nasa, yeah, to bear up, to lift up. And then sing, O barren, we just read. And everyone neighed after his neighbor. Everyone sahal after his neighbor. Neighed one time, cry out, one time, rejoice, shine. All this one word here. I wanted to just put cry aloud, for thus say the Lord of hosts, sing with gladness for Jacob and cry aloud. They just put cry aloud there for all of them. Sa'al among the chief nations. All right. And 50, because Jeremiah 50, because you were glad, because you rejoiced, you destroyers of mine heritage, because you are grown fat as the heifer at grass and bellow as the bulls. Sa'al, bellow. I guess they had to put some English word in there, right? What do bulls do? They bellow, I guess. They could cry aloud too. Anyway, and get this out of here. Okay. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but to proclaim the message of God, and that's the kala. That's a different word. Kala, 71:21. Oh, I think I gave this to you. 21. Kara. That's the big one for call and cry out. 2063. Yeah, I gave that to you. That's that's the 7th one down here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it. Yeah, I gave that to you. 71:21. 71:21. Yeah, I don't know what this is over here. Give the sun go down. Okay. Yeah. So, and we're just going through this theological dictionary here and pulling stuff out. They do a lot of cross references and things like that. And Isaiah 40 and 6. See if it's on this one here. There's a lot of these. Isaiah, let's just put it up here. Isaiah 40 and 6. 40 and 6. I know a lot of this stuff is tedious work, but the voice said, cry. And he said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. What shall I cry? Yeah, kara. Mm. So that's what you cry. All right, Isaiah 46. 40 and 3. It's got something here. 40 and 3. The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness. Kara. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. And where is that in the New Testament? That's in there in the New Testament. Matthew 3:1. In those days came John the Baptist preaching in the wilderness of Judea, saying, Repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. For this is he that was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way. And that's the gospel. Prepare ye the way. The voice of one crying is the 994. Boil, crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way. So if you took this 994 and threw it into the Old Testament, these are all the verses. You come up with 112 matches for this. All right. Let me put one of them up here. Then you shall bring them both out onto the gate of that city, and you shall stone them with stones that they die. And the damsel, because she cried not. So if you don't cry out, they're going to stone you. But if you do cry out, they'll stone him, but not you. Being in the city, and the man, because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife, and thou shalt put away evil among you. So they'll stone the man, but not the woman, if she cries out. Sa'ak. So what they did here in the Septuagint is they used the word boil for if she cried out. Right? And there's a whole bunch of them. Like I said, there's 112 matches for this 994, which is the boil. All right, which there's only 11 occurrences in the New Testament. I love the Esau. That's a good thing to have. Yeah. Mark, 1:3. We looked at that. Matthew 3:3. That's the one crying in the wilderness, I believe. Matthew 3:3. There it was. I just put it away. Let me put it cross references again. Matthew 3:3. There it is. All right, and also Mark 1:3 we read. We're going to read it now anyway. It's the same thing. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way. And it's also Luke 3:4. And it's going to be down here somewhere. There it is. So all three of them have this Isaiah 40 and 3 in their gospel. So this makes this refer to the desert preacher, John. So in John 1:23, see if it's in here. Probably not. John 1:23. Let me go and look for it. It's probably over here. John 1:23. Nope. There it is. John 1:23. He said, I am the voice of one crying, in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord, said the prophet Isaiah. So all four of these guys, not only the synoptic gospels, but John's got it also. Isaiah 40 and 3. Quoted. Okay. So it is put on the lips of John as his own witness to himself. And then to call to, or to call out, Luke 9:38. Luke 9:38. Here it is. And behold, a man of the company cried out, saying, Master, I beseech thee, look upon my son, for he is mine only child. So he's crying out and he's looking for something from Jesus. And you see Isaiah 36 and 3 juxtaposed with this. Isaiah 36 and 3. 6 and 3. Then came forth unto him Eliakim, Hilkiah's son, which was over the house, and Shebna the scribe, and Joel. Where is the word in here? I'm feeling cool. Maybe I got the wrong number here. Isaiah. Yep, I did it wrong. But the 13. Sorry, it's not 3, it's 13. Then Rabshakeh stood and cried with a loud voice unto the Jews' language and said, Hear ye the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. And he cried, Kara. So what did they change this to in the Septuagint here? See, Megala. You see that? Phone, Megala. A loud voice. He cried. And there's the Ebosen. That's Boel. So you get the proper spelling here, but it's not correct as far as my font is concerned. But that's the ending that makes it what it is. All right, 36 back up there. So to raise an outcry, mostly by way of complaint, as in Genesis 39:14. Genesis 39:14. 39:14. Then she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in a Hebrew unto us to mock us, and he came into me to lie with me, and I cried with a what? A loud voice. So you'll see that a lot, that megala phone, when you put it into the Septuagint. And she called. See, what she'll call the men, and that's also like a call, a cry or a call out, kara. And then he came with me, and I cried. Same thing, kara. Unto the Lord with what? A loud. Over here they got gadol, phone, kol. It's like the bath kol. So that's mega phone. And in the Hebrew, it's a loud. It's a gadol kol. All right. I love looking these things up, and that's 938. That's the word there that we're looking at, and then 39:14. That's the wife of Potiphar. Who is she crying out against? She's crying out against Joseph, trying to get him in trouble. He didn't do anything to her. And then we have Acts 17:6. Acts 17:6. 6. Wow. And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, These that have turned the world upside down will come hither also. And that's what we do when we preach. We turn the world upside down. You know, God doesn't love everybody. What are you talking about? We turn the world upside down. Crying. 994. There it is. And then also 25:24. 25, Acts 25:24. It's not there. Let me look for it over here. Acts 25:24. Maybe it's a misprint. Who knows? 25, 24. Yeah. Festus, that's the one we looked at. Crying that he ought not to live any longer. So he turned the world upside down and so let's kill him. Crying, that's the epiboeo. They really want him dead. When you put a prefix in front of a word, ana, epi, kata, it gives it a little oomph. It gives it some extra meaning. So in the same sense, let me see, Mark 15:8. That's up here. Oh, we got Mark 15. Here it is. And the multitude crying aloud began to desire him to do even as he had ever done unto them. That's Mark 15. So that's after crucifixion. No, it's before it. Okay, yeah. Um, and there was one named Barabbas, which lay bound with them, that had made insurrection with him who had committed murder. So he's not only a thief, but he was a murderer in the insurrection. And the multitude crying aloud began to desire him to do as he had ever done unto them. But Pilate answered, saying, What will ye that I release unto you the King of the Jews? And they said, No, no, give us Barabbas. And they made all the people, and the people that went along with him when Jesus was on the cross. He says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Not everybody there, just the ones who were afraid of the Jews there. And that word, what was it? Crying aloud. Crying aloud. Oh, that's the 3:10. There it is. Matthew 27. I thought it was going to be in Acts 27. Thanks for telling me that. All right. And then 1813. 18. Is it Acts 1813? Come on, man. There you go. This fellow persuadeth men to worship God contrary to the law. That's their law, you know. So all of those three verses go together. He's turned the world upside down. Take him out and crucify him. And this one here is he persuadeth men to worship God contrary to the law. And he's not. 1813. Trying to look for the word here, but three times to cry out against someone. Only once in the New Testament is boeo used of the cries with which demons go out of the sick. Acts 8:7. There it is. Acts 8:7. For unclean spirits crying with a loud voice came out of many that were possessed with them, and many taken with palsies, and that were lame were healed. So, and elsewhere, kradzo is preferred in such accounts as Mark 9:26. Mark 9:26. 9:26. The word kradzo. Kradzo. We looked at that yet. And the spirit cried and rent him sore and came out of him. And he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, He is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he was come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, Why could we not cast him out? And he said unto them, This kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. And he cried, Kradzo. Is that one of the synonyms here? Yeah, Kradzo. We might get into those. And he cried. It's also as crying in need to God. Most significant theologically is the use of boeo and cognates for the needy cry of the oppressed and the downtrodden to God, hastening on the cry of the need. So in the Septuagint, we often meet with expressions like, let me put this up here. I think I have these words here. 2199. Ooh, this could get sticky here. No, 2199. Here we go. We have not Jude, Judges. Judges 10, 10. Hope. 10, 10. Here we go. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, saying, we have sinned against thee, both because we have forsaken our God and also have served Baalim. Well, they knew what they did wrong, right? And that's the 2199. That's the cry. That's the Za'ak. And then Numbers 2016 is the 68:17. Numbers 2016 is 2016. There it is. 4, 5. And when we cried unto the Lord, he heard our voice and sent an angel and hath brought us forth out of Egypt. And behold, we are in Kadesh, a city in the uttermost of thy border. So he's talking to Moses is talking to somebody. Can we pass through your land? And no, you can't. And that's Sa'ak. All right. And then Exodus 2:23 has this cry for help. 77, 75. 27, 75. Let me put the 75 up here. 75. There it is, 2:23. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. You cry often enough, he's going to hear it. So you have the cried Za'ak, right? And you have the cried Shava. Both of them in there. So many words for cry in the Old Testament. I got only 4 or 5 of them here, but there's a bunch of them. So innocent blood crying out to heaven for vengeance is referred to in Genesis 4:10. Genesis 4:10. See if it's this one here. No, Genesis 4:10. What number is it? That's the when Cain slew Abel. What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. That's the 68:17. Sa'ak. And Second Maccabees, we're not going to read that. And also, similarly, the Old Testament warns concerning the cry of the laborers. There's a whole bunch of verses on that one. Vainly waiting for their wages and bringing their complaint to God. And that would be Deuteronomy. I don't know what the number is, but let me slip up another one of these. Deuteronomy 24, 15. 24, 15. 24, 15. And you can get a whole bunch. At this day thou shalt give him his hire, and neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and he setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be a sin unto you. So the oppressed, when they cry, God hears it. And there's a whole bunch of verses. And this is that kara, that's the big word here. I do a cross reference on this. And you got 22 verses here talking about don't defraud your neighbor, don't rob him of his wages. All right. Uh, there's no word crying here, but all of these verses have to do with not defrauding. Or if somebody cries unto me, here we go. Lift up my soul, lift my soul. And these also have mean crying too. When I lift up my soul, or my soul is in my hand, and you'll see that a couple of times. And that means you're lifting up your soul, you're bearing your soul. Deuteronomy 15 talks about the year of release, the seventh year. And if they cry to me, um, and it'll be a sin. And that's the same word, kara. That's 15 and 9 in Deuteronomy. And 22, 23 in Exodus. If thou afflict them in any wise and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. I'm sure that's kara. No, it's the other one. It's sa'ak, and I will hear their cry. So you got the verb and the noun here, sa'aka. And then my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. And Job 31:38. If my land cry against me, all right, so that's 21:99. That's the Za'ak. So we could run through all of these TWOTs and do all of that stuff. But I'm just digging in, and some of them will pop up, here and there. Instead of just reading every TWOT that we run across for crying, these are just getting plucked out here as we read this theological dictionary. That's why I like the theological dictionary, because it covers all the stuff that's in the Old Testament without going through every TWOT, like TWOT 570. We'd have to read this whole thing to get that. And this cry here is TWOT 1947. We'd have to read this whole thing to get all that stuff with the cry. They're all good reads, but we'd be here forever doing this. And that's the Job 34:28. If the cry will come up, don't oppress the poor. And 35:9, by reason of the multitude of oppressions, they make the oppressed to cry. And here's another one, 21:99. They cry out, 77:68. We can look at this. Look at this. We can cry. We can read all of this. No, we're plucking them out here, which is good. So we don't have to read 5 or 6 different theological word book of the Old Testament dictionaries on all these separate words. Rob not the poor, because he's poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gate. For the Lord will plead their cause and spoil the souls of those that spoil them. If they cry, even if they don't cry, remove not the landmark. So a lot of good stuff on, and of course, James 5:4 we read, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, kradzo, and the cries, the boy of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. We looked at that already a couple of times. And then the field itself can cry out. 47:27. Let me see what that is. I wrote this in the margin. 47:27. 27. You side. 47:20. So the field. Oh, stenazo. Yeah, we studied this a couple of weeks ago when we were doing the groaning in the morning. There's another word here. Look at this. Oh man, yeah. We can't go through all of these. We did a lot of this already. Okay, stenazo. Sighing, groaning, groan. But which one is the field itself can cry out against exploiters, and the furrows complain. Oh, we read that, Job 31:8. So if you were to put this 47:27 into the Septuagint, you would most likely come up with that Job 31. I'll do this. Greek Old Testament. What was the number? 47:27. G. 47:27. Boom. Let me see if yep, Job 31:38. There it is. Job 31:38. If my land cry against me, or that the furrows likewise thereof complain. So this is Job doing his little thing over here. And the word cry, Za'ak. Well, how come it's not popping up now? Here? Za'ak. There it is. There we go. So they translated 47:27, which is stanazo, and in the Old Testament, the cry 21:99 came up over here. Za'ak. So Yahweh is a swift witness and a judge against oppressors of laborers, widows, and orphans. That's in Malachi. Get back to this. Malachi 3 and 5. We'll see what that word is. Malachi 3 and 5. 3 and 5. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will bear a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow, and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith the Lord of hosts. So they're not even crying, but he's aware of it. So that's what so it's a swift witness against these people. And the book of the covenant demands this in Exodus 22:21. Exodus 22:21 about not oppressing the poor. And we can go through a whole bunch of verses on that, but we're just going to pluck out a few here. 22:21. Thou shalt neither vex a stranger nor oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If thou afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. I mean, they don't even have to cry. He knows already anyway. And we read this a couple of times already, but that's it. If they cry, I'll kill you with the sword, you are, to make you fun. And the old midrash of Exodus, will God punish only when appeal is made to him? We've seen that already, that you don't even have to appeal to him. He knows already. Like he doesn't know you're being oppressed. But if you cry to him, he might even come down even faster. Well, I will make haste to punish the oppressor when the oppressed cries more than when he does not. Okay, so if you do cry, he's going to come faster. So the cry of innocent blood for vengeance, which cannot be silenced, reaches to heaven and finds there its witness. And I think this number is 2201. 2201. Did we look at this? What do we got on this one? This is 570. Yes, that's one of the ones I gave you today. I gave you the 2199. Yes, but this is the 22. This is the feminine noun, and that's I lost my place here. Job 16:18. O earth, cover not thou my blood, and let my cry have no place. Whoso stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. How about that? Proverbs 21:13. Wow. Imagine that. You stop your ears at the cry of the poor, and then one of these ways, when you're crying, God won't hear you. He'll stop his ears. So this cry here is the 2201, the Za'ak. And this cry here, when you cry, is Kara. It shall not be heard. And we can, like I said, we can go through all of this, but we're not going to go through this one. I read, I think I read all of these already, but like I said, there's a lot of stuff here. But this Theological Dictionary of the New Testament covers a lot of these words that we're talking about, as you can see. So God Himself, in the day of vengeance, undertakes to execute the penalty. So whether you cry or not, uh, He's going to do it. In Isaiah 26:21. 26:21. Let's see if there's a cry in here or not, you know. Uh, For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood and shall no more cover her slain. So there's nothing about crying in there, but he's going to do it. Overpassed. And 1 Kings 21. I would like to see a word here. 1 Kings 21:19. But it's just talking about, sometimes they do this. They'll talk about things without putting one of the words that we're studying, 21:19. But it'll probably be hidden in there sometimes, and I just don't see it, you know. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, hast thou killed and also taken possession? So this is the Naboth's field, and what's the name? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, in the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. And he's talking, this is Elijah talking to Ahab. Hast thou found me, O mine enemy? Yeah, okay. So the blood of Naboth is crying, all right, up to the Lord. And God made that promise that, and he killed the whole family. He killed everybody. The blood-drenched earth raises a cry concerning the act of violence committed. The souls of those innocently slain charge that their cry rings out over the earth and ascends to the gate of heaven, the angels finally bringing it to the throne of the Most High. Okay, the lament of those who have suffered violence cannot be silenced till God has brought a flood on the perpetrators. Whew. And there's verses here, I don't know what chapter, but it's the Boe word, and that's 994, 995, 994, 995. Boe, Boe. That's the 995, right? Yeah, Boe. And this is 8:4. I don't know what chapter. But let's look for an 8:4 here. Nope. Okay, I don't see it. All right. And 9:1. 8491. 916. No, 994. No, I'm sorry. 994. I'm just looking for a verse here. 8:4 or 9:1. Uh-huh. Making a liar out of me. You got 8:8. Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron and entreat the Lord that he might take away the frogs from me and from my people. I will let the people go that thou may do sacrifice unto the Lord. So entreat, they use the word boe for entreat. Huh, interesting. And what's 9:1? You see a 9:1 here anywhere? 9:1, 9:1. Nope. Well, there's a lot of words here. All right, I'm not going to go crazy looking for all of these here. Sometimes they put verses down without putting the chapter, so I don't know what chapter they're talking about here. The souls of Abel and other suppliants await in special chambers the day of judgment. Even the souls of beasts complain. They accuse their masters. I don't know where that's written. That's written in some book here. Let me see. The same theme is found in very different form in Revelation 6:9. Revelation 6:9. 6:9. 9. Uh, And when he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of men that were slain for the word of God and the testament which was held. And they cried with a loud voice. And there's that megalophone there. And they cried so, with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And then 8:3. Wait, we're going the wrong way. 8:3. 8:3. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hands. So, how long, O Lord? And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it to the earth. And there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. And the seven angels, which had the seven trumpets, prepared themselves to sound. And these are the seven trumpets here. I'm looking for a call or a cry in here, but basically, you get the idea, right? The same to the same circle of ideas belongs the threat against rich exploiters, which was in James 5, which we looked at already. The whole thing here, really, actually. There's a lot of verses here, but it's talking about oppressing the rich, oppressing the poor. Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that come upon you. So let's go weep and howl. Weep is Cleo, weep, and howl is Olaluzo, one time. Howl, Olaluzo. That's a verb. Lament. Why is it only one time? There's got to be something else with this. Theological Dictionary 5173. I'll have to pull it out one of these days. So weep and howl. So you oppress the poor, and that's what's going to happen. The higher of the laborers, their cries are coming out. This whole chapter is about that. And then Luke 18 also, which is about the woman who was crying, I believe. Luke 18. And he spake a parable unto them to this end that men ought always to pray and not to faint, saying there was in a city a judge which feared not God, neither regarded men. So, like most of the leaders we have today. And there was a widow in the city, and she came unto him, saying, Avenge me of mine adversary. So she's like crying to them, right? And he would not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, though I fear not God nor regard man, but because this widow's troubling me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me. So the only reason why he's doing it is because he doesn't want to hit, like the squeaky oil gets the grease, right? And the Lord said, Hear what the unjust judge saith, and shall not a God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them? We cry, but we need him to bear long with us. I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? Who knows? What's that word here? They cry day and night. 7. And then she's going to avenge when they cry, boil, day and night. He's going to bear long, right? Macrothumia. What was the other one there? Macrothumia. I forget the other one. One is God having patience with us, and another one is us having patience. The injustice done to the laborers cries to heaven, and the complaint of those who are deprived of their rights comes before God in evidence for the judgment of the escate. I'm not going to go through all of this. And that's also in James 5 and 4, and Exodus 22 and 2 we read, and Luke 18 and 8 we just read, right? 18 and 8. What's 18 and 8? Yes. He'll do it speedily. Okay. A different note is sounded in the prayer of Jesus on the cross in Mark 15:34. 15:34. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. 34. Right? Yeah. Ninth hour, Jesus cried, Oil, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Lama, why sabachthani hast thou forsaken me? It's Aramaic. Shabak, leave alone, let alone, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? What a cry that is. God had to turn his back on him for that split second, whatever it was, to take away because he took on all the sins of the world. Here too, the elect is in extreme need to live it up to the fury of the ungodly. But the reference of the prayer is to God alone and not to enemies. The Son of Man goes through the lowest depth of human need. This depth, however, is the inferno of dereliction, for it cries, and from it he cries as only a man can cry, with full and final force. Yet the ebone is no longer a crying to God for help and recompense. It is a crying after God himself. The biblical Boean finds its deepest meaning in prayer. Prayer, however, finds its extreme expression in the cry of the dying Christ for God, a crying in which a new relationship to God, a new form of being, is already intimated. So he had to take on the sins of the world. The three things are made quite clear in this respect. The first is that prayer, as understood in biblical and especially New Testament religion, is an elementary crying in which the final reserves of man are concentrated. It is a crying in which the shattering and impotence of this whole being are manifested. It is finally a mortal cry, and this is the one where it talks about putting my soul or my life or my soul in my hand. And that's Job 13:14. There was a bunch of verses that talk about this, putting the soul or putting the life, the nefesh, actually, 13:14, because sometimes it's life, sometimes it's soul. And get this here. Why do I take my flesh in my teeth and put my life in mine hand? So the life here he's got is a nefesh. So that can mean soul, life, person, mind, soul, all right? So I put my life in my hand. And then also, let me just do a cross reference here, see what happens. Flesh of my own arm, Phoenix President 91. I'm looking for, well, here it is, Psalm 119, 109. I put my life in my hand. So yeah, First Samuel 28:21. The woman came to Saul and saw that he was so troubled, and she said, "Behold, thine handmaid hath obeyed thy voice. I have put my life in my hand." Actually, she should be saying, "I put my life in your hands." Unless she's saying, "Hey, here, I'm offering this up, and have hearkened unto thy words which thou speakest unto me." But Psalms 119, 109, my soul is continually in my hand, yet do I not forget thy law. Continually. So the nefesh is continually, tamid, continual, daily, perpetual, in my hand, my yod, right? Oh, that's the kaf. Okay, the hand. Yeah. All right. It's not the yod. Yet I do not forget thy law, the Torah. In the last page. Secondly, this boe does not ring out unheard in cold and empty space. The man who relies on himself and his own power is silenced in his distress. We can't do this alone. The man who knows that he confronts a divine thou. So you're talking about the divine thou presses on to God in his distress and brings all his need before him. And that's what we got to do. I got to do that every day. Get on my face before God. God, I can't do this. I'm I fall short every day. So I start my day with please and I end it with thank you. As simple as that. The man who does not know this kind of prayer is overwhelmed by loneliness. Biblical man knows a profound solitariness, namely the abyss of isolation from God. And that's hell, if you ask me. Isolation from God, knowing that there is a God, or there is God, not a God, knowing that God is, even when you say God is, you detract from him. So knowing that God, period, and you're never going to see him, you know. But this despairing and mortal loneliness wrings from him the cry in which he confesses, for good or ill, the thou of God. Out of the depths I cry unto thee. And that's Psalms 130 and 1. Out of the depths I cry. One more. 130 and 1. Out of the depths have I cried unto thee, O Lord. What's the depths he's talking about? Out of the depths. Ma'amak. Ma'amak. The depths, the deep, the abyss, right? Amak, deep, profound depths. Synonym with shaka, to sink down. Mesola means deep. Sela, abyss. We'll have to get into this word one of these days. The deep, tehom, amuka, to be deep. Emeku, to be deep, wise, strong. That's like the abyss. Abusos. Bathos is deep, and abusos is not deep. So there's no depth. The verb amok is found in the cow. Praise. Oh Lord, how great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. Uh, just go into here. This is good, deep, strange, deeper, deeper. So that's a good word. Maybe we'll get into it one of these days. Out of the depths have I cried unto thee. 130 and more. Thirdly, this cry in which man surrenders his all to God, this mortal cry of the old man, is also the first cry of the new, according to the Christian conviction. So the old man is dead, the new man is there, namely the cry of the man whose life emerged in the hour of the death of the Son of God. Galatians, I think Galatians 4:4, which we read already, I think. 4:4. Let me get these out of here. 2, 3. But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them which were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. And because you are sons, God has sent forth the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying, Abba, Father. Wherefore thou art no more a servant, but a son. So we're adopted. And if a son, then an heir of God through Christ. We're joint heirs. But there's good words in here. We're not going to go through all of those words. But this 2 Corinthians 13 and 4, I was looking at it earlier. It might be a misprint, but let's see if I can recognize something in here. Okay. For though he was crucified through weakness, yet he liveth by the power of God. For we also are weak in him, but we shall live with him by the power of God toward you. Okay. Examine yourselves whether you be in faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Jesus Christ is in you, except you be reprobates? But I trust that you shall know that we are not reprobates. So yeah, we get on our face every day, man. And there's a lot of Greek here. It is the pneuma huitheos. That's the spirit, sons, huitheos. And that would be Romans 8. I think it's Romans 8, 16 and 26. Romans 8, 16 and 26. None of these Abba Father things, right? No. All right. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. All right. So we got the adoption, the sons of God, the heirs, and we're children of God. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together. And that's it. And then 26, we'll read down to it anyway. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who had subjected the same in hope, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. And that's what we are, joint heirs. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit. Even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why does he yet hope for? For if we hope for that we see not, then we do with patience wait for it. And then likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities. For we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit itself maketh intercessions for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. So that's the prayer and the crying and the groaning. And this groaning is the stenagmos. And we got also the stenazo, the groan, sigh, relief. And that's what we do. We groan and we get on our face and we cry to God every day. Please help us. Abba, Father. And there's more to this, but we're going to stop here for this. And I could go through the whole TWOT, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to cut it short here. We thank you, God, for everything, for this word. We're just studying words, and your truth is being revealed to us as we go through each word, one word at a time. And they're all synonymous. I mean, the whole book, your whole word is like one big word, and we're just trying to figure out what it is. And hopefully one day we will get to talk with you about it, the word, and live with you and the word. We love you, praise you, give you all the glory and honor in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Good stuff. That was one way of doing it, going through the theological dictionary, and that takes you through the whole Old Testament too. I like that. Thank you, God, for everything.